It's now the top of the hour, so we're gonna start the recording and get started. My name's Lisa Chase, and I'm a professor at University of Vermont Extension and the director of the Vermont Research Center. It is my honor to be hosting this first in a series of virtual gatherings about agritourism. Today, we're talking about welcoming guests back on our farms and ranches during the COVID-19 pandemic. When we started planning this months ago, we were hoping we were going to be talking about post-pandemic and recovery, but here we are, at least in the US and many of the other places around the world. Unfortunately, we're still in the midst of it. But that's not stopping our farms. They're going 24/7 no matter what. They've been producing food this whole time. And while many of them initially closed to visitors, more and more are opening up and finding safe ways to do that. We wanted to take an opportunity today to share some examples from India, Italy, and the US, where farm stays are open and they're safe. And we also want to tell you a little bit more about the series that we're putting on. As I mentioned, this is the first in the series. We've got about 10 of these gatherings planned. They'll be roughly once a month, and they'll take us through the spring and most of the way to when the International Workshop on Agritourism will take place in person, we hope, in Vermont next August 2021. The conference in Vermont is a direct follow-up from the first World Congress on Agritourism, and that took place in Bolzano, Italy in 2018, and it was organized by URAC Research. As many of you know, here in Vermont, we had planned to host the follow-up conference this October. Clearly that isn't going to happen, and when we postponed it until August of 2021, we decided we shouldn't just hit pause and stop all the work that's been going on, and we should take this opportunity to continue to develop and connect the network, the agritourism platform, virtually. We're grateful that a major sponsor that's allowing us to move forward with these virtual gatherings and the conference is Yonder. If you haven't heard of Yonder yet, they're a new nature tourism platform that invites travelers to connect with the natural world and the people who steward it. Through the Yonder site and app, guests can discover and book overnight stays and activities at farms, ranches, vineyards, and other nature immersion escapes. Initially, Yonder was focused on the US, but they're now expanding around the world, and they've become a very important partner for the agritourism network that was launched at the first World Congress on Agritourism in Italy. And we are very fortunate to have with us here today Tomas Streifeneder from URAC Research, who is going to tell us a little bit about what's been going on in Italy since the first World Congress.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends of agritourism, hello to everybody in the world. It's impressive to see so many people from every parts of the world. I'm Tomas Streifeneder. I'm from URAC Research. We organized the first World Congress on Agritourism, and I'm very thankful to Lisa Chase and her team of the University of Vermont and Vermont Tourism Research Center for organizing and implementing this first international workshop on agritourism. Thank you very much, Lisa, for having this power and will to organize this. I'm very happy that we have, after the World Congress on Agritourism 2018, the agritourism to see the agritourism platform goes on, that we can continue with this international platform, and this year with the international workshop in a digital way. The idea is to have regular key events and to organize every 4 years a World Congress. So the next World Congress will be in 22, hopefully again in Italy, in Bolzano. But as Lisa said, we will hopefully have a physical meeting again next year in Vermont to organize or to implement the international workshop. These events are very important, are get-togethers together with the World Agritourism Days organized by our Indian friend, Mr. Pandurang Tawari, and the engagement of Mrs. Jackie Taylor to further promote and develop agritourism in Africa. These are important occasions to strengthen our network and to extend the platform for agritourism. But there are also important occasions to discuss activities, developments, limits, and boundaries of agritourism, to develop a conceptual framework. This is important to make a clear promotion and communication of this sector, to measure it, to define policies, programs that support what I call authentic agritourism. I hope this workshop will represent another key element in this regard, and thank you very much again, Lisa, for this, for the organization, and that you gave me the floor. I wish everybody a fruitful exchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And we have, before we get to the main event here, we have one more thing we want to do. I'm going to launch a poll. So folks should see on your screen a little chart. I apologize for anyone calling in that you don't see this. I'll describe it. You should see a little chart on your screen that has some questions. It says, describe yourself, check all that apply. And I see that many of you are Zoom experts and you're going right in and checking. The choices are farmer, rancher, service provider, extension, nonprofit, government agency, educator, researcher, tourism professional, business owner or manager, or other. And if you do write in other, feel free to type in the chat what those others are. I'll give folks just another minute to fill this out. You are welcome to check more than one box. I know many of us wear many hats and have many different occupations here. So go ahead and check a few boxes, and then I'll share the results, and then we'll turn it over to our speakers. Okay, you should now see on your screen the breakdown of who is here with us today. We talked about how we had over 200 people registering from around 30 different countries, and remarkably, I have to admit, I'm impressed. You folks in Taiwan and Philippines, I figured you'd catch the recording, and I'm sure many more of other folks are sleeping in and catching the recording. That gives us a sense of the countries, but here we can see the different occupations, the different roles that people play. We've got 29% farmers, ranchers, just a touch more, 32% at extension service providers, and then 16% nonprofit, government agency, 21% educators, 19% researchers, and we've got about 27% tourism professionals, some business owners, and I want to stop sharing the results now. So hopefully that worked, and that's off your screen now. I'm gonna bear with me as we're all getting used to Zoom together. Let's see if I can make this slide advance now. Okay. I want to introduce, oops, went too far. There we go. I want to introduce our guest. Our first speaker is Scottie Jones. She and her husband Greg have been raising grass-fed lamb at Leaping Lamb Farm in the Green Hills of Oregon's Coast Range since 2003. They're escaped urbanites. A few years into their farming venture, they added farm stays as a way to sustain their farm, and because they enjoy sharing what they have and what they know with their guests. But Scottie realized that there wasn't really a central place in the US to share information about authentic farm stays. So ever the entrepreneur, she went ahead and started one. In 2010, Scottie founded Farmstay USA, which is a website to connect guests with the best authentic farm and ranch stays throughout the United States. And Scottie, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me get my screen up here. And so I want to thank Lisa very much for inviting me to tell you all a little bit about what some of us are doing here in the US. And that's welcoming guests back on our farms and ranches after a very surprising COVID-19 hit most of us in March. So let me just make sure I've got this. As Lisa said, we own Leaping Lamb Farm here in Alsea, Oregon, which is in the Coast Range. We're about 2 hours south of Portland. And we have been hosting guests since 2007. We market ourselves using a website so that people know we exist, not only because we sell lamb for the meat market. So we want people to know that we do that, but that we also host guests, and people can come during lambing season and stay with us. They can stay with us all year. We also have started farm tours. So the main part of agritourism that we do and that we instituted back in 2007 were farm stays. Farm tours have come along as people find out more about us. But as Lisa said, I mean, we did it to share our farm, but we also did it to be sustainable, because raising lamb, if you're not doing a large herd, is not a way to pay for your tractor to break down. With our farm stay, one of the things I really wanted to do was to make sure that our guests had a full contact experience. So we let our guests interact with our livestock, and we let them play in the creek, and we let them build hay forts in the barn. And as I mentioned, we raise lambs, and so April is lambing season here on the farm. And most of our guests are urbanites and have never held a baby lamb, seen a baby lamb, seen one born. The reality is that we need to have guests out here during lambing season because I need the extra hands and the extra help. So our guests will help with bottle feeding if that's something we need to do, or they'll help fill syringes or any of the other, what would I say, medical things we need to do. But in the end, they get to hold lambs on their lap. We host our guests in a farmhouse. This is a farmhouse from 1895. And we also host them in a cottage. So those two buildings are about 500 feet apart from each other. They both have their own kitchens. They both have decks and barbecues and face in different directions. And that's important to know for where things have come to with COVID. But one of the things I want to point out is that pre-COVID, we did a lot of hands-on with our guests as well. And when I mean hands-on, I mean, we were right next to guests. We are breathing their air. We are touching them. We are helping them, showing them how to interact with our livestock for the most part. And I'm at that age of being like a grandma. So I'm grandma and nana to a lot of kids that come. And so we do a lot of holding hands. We do a lot of hugs. We have a lot of repeat guests. This is what my reservation system looked like in 2019 for April. And so we are really relatively full. This is what my reservation system looked like for April 2020. So we ended up starting to cancel our guests at the beginning of March. And you can see, because I'm older, I don't just rely on the internet, and I do use a hand calendar as well. And you can see all of the things that I scratched out for March. You know, we needed to take a breath, and we needed to regroup, and we needed to identify protocols back in April if we were ever going to be able to be open again. Our state closed down, so we were not allowed to host guests, but we had canceled everybody anyway. And we needed to figure out what we could clean and what we couldn't clean. So we started looking at the CDC guidelines for cleaning products. What were we going to use? We began to wash our linens in hot water. A lot of times we just use warm water. We looked at all the toys and the books and things we provide for kids, and we just couldn't figure out how we were going to clean those. So we started locking up all of our things that we really didn't think we could handle. And then we started communicating with guests who were asking us when we would be open, what we could and couldn't do, especially out at our barn, and what kind of precautions, if we opened up, they were going to need to take. So this is what our sink looks like now in our kitchens. We do have hand sanitizer that we clearly mark, you know, but at the beginning, we couldn't get any hand sanitizer. We do live in a rural area, and every time I went into town, there was nothing. I couldn't buy anything online. So we were using a bleach water solution, which is there also, that we had people just spray on counters and spray on their hands, but we also told people to bring their own hand sanitizer because we figured they had better access. Now that we can get hand sanitizer, we kind of place it around our farm. We also provide masks in the event that people don't have masks or have forgotten them or whatever. And we even put hand sanitizer out at our barn. Now, I was very clear about what we could and couldn't do there. And we do have a bathroom out there with hot water and soap. Most of our guests are urban, and they understand pretty well what they need to do. You know, but even for us, we're a very small staff here. We mostly are farming, and so we couldn't figure out how to even keep the bathroom out there clean in terms of the handle, other than once a day. So we just make it very clear what people need to do. We also put on our website, originally this notice said that we were closed. And so then we've put a notice on now about what we're doing. And we also decided that we really needed to waive our cancellation policy because we didn't want people showing up who were not feeling well or feeling like they were trapped and had to come for, because they had a deposit with us. This is what our guests look like these days. So my rule basically is that everybody wears masks when we are doing chores. If they are on their own and out and about or in the buildings by themselves, they can do whatever they want. We have 67 acres, so there's certainly room for people to breathe. These are the other guests that were there at the same time. So these people were staying up at the cottage. That bigger group was staying in our farmhouse. So everybody understands, and nobody has a problem with doing this. We wear masks. We were letting the sheep out. Everybody you can see still has masks on there. Masks in our barn upstairs. And you can see here, the kids actually really understand that social distancing a little bit better than the mom there. I was showing off a chicken. We were probably within 5 feet, but she did have a mask on. So I really try to do what I can to maintain my distance and find myself backing up every now and then when people don't get it. But for the most part, our guests are really pretty good about this. And, you know, I think in terms of this COVID world we're in, it's all really about setting and managing the expectations of your guests and what we need and what they need. You know, I know that people have just been locked in their houses and locked up with their kids. And so we really want to give guests room to relax and run around, you know, to go hiking in our woods. We have fairy houses up there, and there's plenty of fresh air and space for them to hang out. You know, they can play Pied Piper with our goats who appear to get out all the time and not stay behind the fences. And I will have to say that one of the, I don't know why we didn't figure this out before, but we ended up coming up with some other businesses. And one of them was virtual farm tours, which we could have done without COVID, but we do those now. It's a paid event. And then we also, with these pasture-raised meats, we are selling a lot more meat out of our freezers than we've ever done before. So basically our goal is to, you know, weather this storm. And we will do it. We'll do it with better protocols, even I think when COVID is a thing of the past. And in the end, you know, we want to be here for guests who want to come out to the country and experience the natural world and reconnect with each other and reconnect with nature, you know, but we want to just continue being able to offer this. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate being invited to give a chat about this.
Thanks so much, Scottie. I've got a slew of questions that were sent in beforehand, you know, as well as some that are coming in. People are welcome to type into the chat at any point, but if you don't mind, I think we'll hold questions until after we hear from Elisabeth and Harkirat. And we'll move next to Elisabeth DeCoster. She and her husband, Stefano Fasone, run an organic olive farm and guest house an hour north of Rome. Stefano fell in love with the beautiful Roman hills and olive oil plantations as a child and always dreamed of living a life on the land. He made that dream come true, and Elisabeth joined him in 2006 when she traveled to Italy from Belgium and initially worked as a volunteer on the farm. The two fell in love, and Elisabeth stayed in Montpellier, where she still is, living in a country with a strongly defined cuisine and with beautiful, fresh local produce available all year round. Her interest in cooking was fueled, and the result is homemade vegetarian food with roots in the Italian tradition. The goal with their Agritourism is to create a place for their guests to unwind, relax, connect, and be nourished in a sustainable way. And I tell you, I can't wait till we can travel again and I can finally go visit Elisabeth and Stefano in person, as well as Scottie and Harkirat. But for now, I'll hand it over to you virtually, Elisabeth, to tell us a little bit more about the guests who are able to travel and come see you now.
Thank you. Thank you also for the invitation. I will also show you, try to show you. Let's see. Okay. So this is a video that you, sorry, let's unmute first. So this video is made with a drone a few years ago, and it shows our Agritourism and the area where we are. I'll first start saying where we are exactly. So we are in Italy, an hour north of Rome. It's the region of Lazio, and we are in the province of Rieti. And our farm is mainly an olive farm, so we produce olive oil. And we have in total maybe 600 olive trees, about 100 other fruit trees, and usually in summer we have a big vegetable garden. Like Lisa said in the introduction, my husband Stefano is from Rome originally, and when he found out about this place, he decided he wanted to start a farm with some friends in the year 2000. We are very close to the river Farfa, which a few kilometers further arrives in the Tiber, a Tiber that then goes to Rome and to the sea. And the Farfa in Montpellier is a gorge, so it's a quite wild place. It looks like we are. It is hilly where we are. We are not high. We are only 250 meters high, so it looks higher than it actually is. So I'll talk while I show you the video. And in 2000, so this is the main building, the Agritourism, with the rooms for guests. So sorry, I'll have to pause because the video is too quick for my talking. In 2003, together with the local section of Italia Nostra, which is a bit like WWF, we want, together with the municipality and Italia Nostra, we wanted to make a natural preserve, so it's called Monumento Naturale, to preserve the river and a few other patches around the river. So our Agritourism is now in this natural area. So there are ruins of medieval water mills along this river. This is a medieval bridge. And this is all at 15 minutes walking distance from our Agritourism, so from the guest house. And then at the other side of the hill, so this is again the main building, downstairs, I'll quickly pause. So downstairs is a dining room, and we have another guest room downstairs, and then upstairs we have 4 guest rooms. And then in the end of the garden, we have the swimming pool. And on the other side of the hill of Montpeo is the second part of our farm, where we have the remains of a Roman villa. It's a Roman farm where they made olive oil 2000 years ago. And this is the reason why we got in contact with UVM. Mark Usher, classic professor, took interest in this site, and that's how we started working together. So this is the little house you see on top of these. It looks a cave, but it's not a natural cave. It's man-made. It's what remains. It's the underground layer of this huge Roman farm. And the little house is about 1,000 years old. So it's medieval, it's not Roman. And we lived here until 5 years ago. Next to the Roman villa is an olive grove with centuries old trees, which we are in the process of discovering how old exactly. So they are more like sculptures, and this olive grove is more than a highly productive area. It's more an open air museum. You can imagine that pruning these trees or picking the olives from these trees takes much more time than in modern olive trees plantations. So this is one of the reasons that it's hard for us to live only from farming, and that's why we are also offering farm stays. This is our Instagram page, just to give you some more impressions of the house and the food. We have, so you see here, family of the photo of the 4 of our family with the donkey. We have 20 donkeys in total. They keep our olive groves clean. They are our lawnmowers. They have no natural enemies here. First we had sheep, but they were killed during the daylight by neighborhood dogs. So donkeys have no natural enemies. We just have to make sure they have water, and for the rest they are quite independent. Yeah, so about the farming, what we do is more kind of a landscape farming, maintaining a traditional landscape that is here. So like Lisa said about wearing many hats, we are farmers, we are in hospitality business, we are trying to preserve the landscape, protecting also the watering systems in the area. There's a lot to do about this, because it's raining less and less in Italy every year. So yeah, that's a few things we do. So like I mentioned before, we have in total 5 guest rooms, and so maximum 12 people. So we're quite small. We serve breakfast and dinner for our guests. And so when March came along, and then April, and then May, we had a lot of people canceling, of course. And also a lot of people canceled for the summer, for their stay in summer. And in Italy, the 18th of May, the lockdown finished more or less, and then we had our first guests again the 18th of June. It started quite slowly with some people that hadn't canceled their reservations, but around 15th of July we had we were full until the 15th of September. So we worked really well for 2 months, and that's mainly because so we had some people from abroad, always Europe, of course, coming, making last-minute bookings, or people that had booked before March and wanted to come anyway, or instead of flying, for example, from Germany or from Belgium, they came by car. So that it's an advantage that more or less it's reachable also by car. And then we had much more Italians than usual, since we only have 5 rooms, and people from abroad book earlier because you have to book a flight, you have to organize a whole holiday. When the Italians, mostly from Rome, call to ask if we still have availability, we usually are fully booked. But this summer, with all the last minute bookings, especially in the weekends, we had much more Italians than usual, and that was a nice sensation also because people in general, of course, stayed more home and explored the area where they live. So, for example, the river and the gorge had a lot of success this summer, and the locals kind of discovered the place, which is a good thing. Makes them appreciate more what they have. And in Italy, this is. I'm not Italian, so I say this from someone looking a bit from. So in Italy, Italians are spoiled with nature. There are so many beautiful places in every region you go. So it's nice to be reminded of this, and to be reminded that you don't have to go far to see really, really beautiful things. So about the rules we had to follow to the anti-COVID rules. I will quickly show you, like, for example, at the entrance, we had to put a sign that explained what people had to do, maintaining 1 meter distance. Inside, people had to wear masks. Interior, also outside. But I mean, we are so small, so people just, usually every family or every couple just stayed between them. When they're seated at the tables, they don't have to wear masks. And we put hand sanitizer at the entrance, also at the desk where people paid, and also at the bathrooms down here, extra hand sanitizer. We are lucky to have, another advantage was that it was summer and everything could take place outside. So all the dinners, all the contact with the guests was outside. And now for autumn, it finally started raining here. So now for autumn, it will be more indoors. So that will be a slightly different feeling. But on the other hand, I see that bookings are getting, I mean, we're not fully booked anymore. So we'll see how the next months will be. And this whole year has been an exercise in adapting your expectations. That's definitely something, So we'll see what the future brings, and we take it day by day.
Thank you, Elisabeth.
Thank you very much.
Again, there were some questions that came in, but if you don't mind, I'm jotting down notes and keeping track of them. And we'll now turn it over to our next speaker to make sure we have time for everyone. And so I want to introduce Harkirat Ahluwalia. I have yet to meet him in person, and was first introduced to him virtually through Mr. Pandurang Tarare, who is the founder of Agritourism India. When we started putting this series together, I reached out to Mr. Tave and asked him who we should bring in for this conversation on farm stays, and he did not hesitate. Immediately he said, "Oh, Citrus County farm stays, that's the experience you want to hear about." Harkirat is a third-generation agriculturalist, and his property includes a 70-acre citrus orchard, which was planted by his grandfather over half a century ago. He lives there with his wife, Jasmine, their 2 sons, and their faithful dogs, of course, like every good farm. and he graduated with a mass communications degree from Punjab University. However, as a college graduate, rather than heading to the city, like most of his colleagues, he came back home to the farm. And he came home during a period that was very difficult for citrus crops and for farming in general. Fortunately for his family and for the whole region where he is extremely enterprising. And not only did he rescue the citrus farm, but he also recognized the need for diversification of income streams. And that's why he began the farm stay in 2006. It was modeled on providing an experience of living in a farmhouse with all the necessary amenities while giving an immersion into farming. At the farm stay, all the food that is cooked is self-grown, and the entire property is a self-sustaining one. I'm now going to turn it over to Harkirat, and while he's talking in the background, I'll share some photos from his Facebook page of what Citrus County farm stays looks like.
A very big hello to everyone who have taken out time to come and experience and listen to our thoughts and experiences during this opening of the COVID times, our properties, how we have opened. So before I come to that, I would like to just give a little bit of how we started this farm stay and how we've grown from here from 1 to 3. So basically, as Lisa had mentioned that, we are the third generation farming family in this part of Punjab. We are in a place called Punjab in India, which is basically 90% an agriculture state, where the whole of India depends upon the grains from our state. So when I started the farm stay, the biggest challenge which we had was that how do we get people to notice where we are? But at the same time, I always thought that whenever you are in a rural place, it could be like the best opportunity to express yourself and attract people. And that's how we were lucky enough to started having a lot of people who wanted to experience a typical rural setup in India. So then we came out with our first property, which we opened in 2008, was Citrus County, which was basically a glamping site where we set up these very high-end tents, luxury tents, air-conditioned tents, where people could get a feeling of how glamping is done. So that picked up with people, and we became very popular. And also we gave a lot of good experiences to people, like obviously at a farm, you would at a citrus farm, you would learn about citrus, how we grow our different varieties of citrus, how we pluck our fruits. And then after that, we also started giving culinary experiences, where we also opened our family recipes, shared our recipes, family recipes with people, how we were cooking the typical Punjabi food on slow fire. So that was a very good experience. And we do a lot of culinary from all over the world, from where people come and stay with us to learn our cooking. And we start from the first thing. I take everyone along with me to the city, and there they pick up the meats and everything. Vegetables, of course, we grow our own, and all the spices and everything. Because basically my idea is that they should get involved in what they're doing, what they're eating. So then we cook on the slow fire. That's where the fun is, but it takes a lot of time, but everyone waits with a glass of wine for that. So then we also started a very interesting experience was of inviting people to come and stay with us and get married at our farm with the typical Punjabi Indian traditions. Because, people are very fascinated with the Indian colors, the Indian festivals, and the Indian bonds. So we gave them a beautiful experience where right from their clothes till, the traditional cultural evenings and the ceremonies which we do, they became part of that. So that was a very good kind of experience which guests appreciated. And we do almost about 4 good groups from Australia every year where people come and get married. They basically exchange vows, And then we started we set up another angling lodge in the Himalayas where people were, it's one of the most beautiful valleys called the Tirthan Valley, where it's very popular for the rainbow trout and also for beautiful birding, beautiful wildlife. So that is a place which we set up it's at about 5,000 feet above the sea level, and very famous for people who want to go and hike there. So that's also a very small property. I believe in making very small properties so that you can interact with everyone, at a very personal level. So this place is called Basera by the Tirthan, which is right on the riverside, and it's fresh glacier water and beautiful trout fishing. So then last year we set up another farm stay in Hoshiarpur. That's my city in Punjab where I stay and do citrus farming. So the new place, that's the new kid on the block, is called Firdaus, which is the latest property. That's also in a citrus and a poplar plantation. But the setting is a little different, instead of tents and glamping, we've set up very high-end villas there. So again, it's a very small property with about 6 villas where the maximum would be 12 people staying in about 20 acres. And that's a very interesting kind of property, Or in 10 years of our experience, whatever the feedbacks we got from our guests and also our own experience, we amended all the little faults which we had and tried to make it much better. So it's a much more high-end property, and it's got its own private walking trails, cycling trails. And again, the concept is the same of citrus, where we have different varieties, which we've imported from Florida, where, with the help of Pepsi. So the experiences are almost the same, but it's a different environment. It's also outside a wildlife sanctuary where, every morning if you're having a coffee, you'll, bump into a blue bull or a wild boar or some beautiful pheasants or some peacocks around you. So it gives a very interesting and a soothing kind of a feeling. So now I'll come on to this COVID times, which I hope everyone is safe and sound, in this time. And it hit India as well as it's unfortunately hit America and other parts of the world. So we officially shut our place on the 16th of March. And but we had our lockdown in India on the 22nd of March. But as a precautionary measure, we said, no, let's shut it down for a while. But I'm proud of one thing, that I retained all my staff at my farm stays. All my 3 farm stays were with the staff. We didn't let our staff go anywhere. We paid them full salaries, and we gave them their housing and everything and food free of cost. And well, we had a lot of bookings, especially from the UK, and we had to just cancel everything and refund all the money to everyone. Each and every guest of ours got their money back. And then on 8th June, the government allowed us again to open our farm stays. But out of all the 3 farm stays, we opened our the latest one, which is called Firdaus, the villas. That's the only property which we opened because we didn't want a lot of people around, because the first one is where I and my family stay. So I didn't really want to open it up for so much, because India, you get a lot of people coming in all the time. So this is a very restricted property which we opened. So we had a lot of challenges because the staff was not trained to get into that groove of how to follow the protocols. But I did a session with them before we had our guests coming. So we are following everything. So it's basic. So you see in India, the other thing was that whenever a hotel or a farm stay opens, the guests expect everything should be done by the staff and everything. But that has totally changed. The whole concept has changed. So it's a self check-in. So people come and park their vehicles outside their villas, and they take out their own luggage now and they put it in their rooms. And we have sanitizers and gloves and masks all over the property. Also in the rooms, we've kept everything. Plus, we make it sure that the food part, where basically our whole idea is that there should be minimum interaction between the guests and the staff, but there should be no problem also. So we normally do a buffet, but we used to do it in our cafe, which is called the Cafe Tangelo. But now we don't put the food inside the cafe because it's an air-conditioned cafe. So we have a nice veranda outside where we put the buffet, and the guests serve their food, and they're welcome to go and sit inside or outside in the lawns, because we've got a lot of space and everything. So that's their choice. But the guests are not interacting much with the staff. So that is a big savior, and because the chances of giving infection come down, or getting infection come down. And we are very particular about people wearing masks. Our staff, without fail, always has their masks on. But sometimes the guests, they come to a place, it's not their fault also. When they see such an open space area, they, take a little liberty, but that's all right. But we make it sure that that whenever they are meeting with some other person they don't know, that they put their masks on. Then we also do this, we try that maximum people should be outdoors, not indoors, so that chances go down. And well, I think the people are very careful as well, and they've got used to this kind of a system now, that no hugging, no kisses, no handshakes, everything's gone now. So it's like, they keep a distance, but sometimes over a couple of drinks, they just mingle with each other. But that's all right, you can't stop that. And that's it, that's how life is going on now. And we getting, our weekends are going totally sold out. And that's a good sign. And we're getting lost, since the winters are setting in India, in Punjab. So, our citrus season is also coming up, and we're getting a lot of queries. And we've also, fortunately, we've had some guests who've been staying with us for about 4 or 5 months, and they intend to be there for another 3-4 months because they don't want to get into big cities. So I feel, this COVID has also brought in good news for all the farm stay owners and small properties like ours, all of you who are there all over the world, because people don't want to get into big hotels now. They don't want to get into a block. They don't want to get into a glass house, They want to get out where they could move out, and, where there are very limited people. And also, I feel like I'll give an example of India. It's going to be, the road trips are going to be in again. So it's a very big opportunity for people all over the world to see their country by driving now. So the driving holidays are going to be back again. The flights are going to wait for a while. And that's how it's going to boom now. So small properties, but the small properties, I always keep on telling when people give me a call sometimes, how should we open? And it's good that our properties are going to do well. I said, well, buddy, you got to maintain a standard. You just can't have guests and you don't give good quality. So remember, quality is which is going to keep you going all over. And if you maintain that, whether it's COVID or it's not COVID, you will do well, and you will be appreciated, and you will have repeat guests. For my marketing, I always, a lot of people ask me how you market your places. So I always tell them, I said, the best marketing is word of mouth. Nothing can beat it. If your guests are going happy, they're going to tell 10 people, and that's the marketing you would like. And whenever you get repeat guests, that means you're doing a good job. So thank you, Lisa, for giving and Vermont University to giving this opportunity to me to represent my country and give my perspective about how things are in India. And also, I wish all my partners in farm stays all over the world to do well and progress. And whenever they are in India, I'm the man to see, and you must come and stay with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We all, I think I speak for all of us when I say we can't wait till we can travel again and visit you in India and Elisabeth in Italy and Scottie in Oregon. We've had an active chat while the presentations have been going on, and Scottie's been busy answering questions there. One question that I've seen a few times, so I thought I'd mention it verbally. We've only got about 10 minutes left, and I do want to respect people's time. So we'll spend a few minutes on some questions and then some closing remarks. But Scottie, one of the questions that came up, and this may be relevant for Elisabeth and Harkirat too, is to tell us more about the virtual events that you're doing and the way you're connecting virtually with people who can't travel to you right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually share my screen and show you guys what we do. We added this because actually I was approached by somebody, a former guest, who wanted to know if we could do a meeting for her corporate business. And so then we also got approached by a school. So what we do is we actually use a phone and we go out to our barn, and I have Kate, who is one of my farm managers here, help me. She holds the camera, I do the talk, and we just hope that our animals behave. But you can see here what we charge. So for schools, we make it free for public schools, but it goes all the way up to $250 for corporate virtual events. And it wasn't me that set that price. It was the company who came to me and said, we'll pay you $250 if you can do this farm tour for us. So we will walk around our barn, we will walk around, walk over to our chicken yard, and I basically just introduce everybody to our animals and give them a little bit of an education about our livestock. So that's kind of how that works, and it's been fairly successful. So I hope to keep doing it.
That's great. I think it'll be really interesting to see as, you know, as travel resumes, how many of these new virtual innovations keep going on. For example, you know, these Zoom gatherings, these meetings where we're connecting. So Harkirat and Elisabeth, I'm not sure if you're doing something with virtual events. If you are, feel free to weigh in, and I'll throw out another question at the same time that you can also answer, which is, there were a lot of questions about the food, the meals, what you provide, and how you make sure you handle things in a way that's COVID safe. Harkirat?
See, I'll answer the first one, the virtual thing first. You see, in India, that's not a, people don't opt for that because people, they want everything live. They want to be there for, to eat a good chicken or, to enjoy that place. So in India, the virtual tour might come up, but as of now, they're not there much. And as far as the food is concerned, we are very careful. The cleaning of the food, the proper heating of the food, and the washing of the plates. And also when people are eating, since we have so much of space at the farm, we've got, every villa has its private lawn, So we normally serve food in a common area, but people take and they go onto their tables, which are, I think, about 100 feet away from each other. So, so that's not a problem. So food, we are very careful of the hygiene and everything, and also the quality. I mean, we've always had good quality, but we're a little more extra careful. And people, all our staff wears all the nets and everything. So I think it's a very good learning also for everyone, how to improve yourselves and, how to expect and deliver much better.
So about the virtual activities, we didn't do them until now, virtual events. I used to give cookery workshops in winter a few times in a weekend, but for some reason I don't compel to do it online. I think it's too important, the personal contact with people, and also preparing food that people can actually participate, and so for now we didn't do that. Something that this winter we might do is organize guided tours at the gorge, at the river, and the ruins of medieval mills, because, like I said, more Italians are discovering the area, and so it's a way so you can, because that way we can. It's an outdoor activity, so it's safer. We can choose the number of people, so it's quite controllable, even if it's a live thing. And then as for the food safety, following the HACCP rules and the food and health rules in the kitchen, pre or now during COVID, is more or less the same. An extra rule, of course, is that the people working in the kitchen have to maintain a distance, be able to maintain a distance of at least 1 meter. Otherwise, they have to wear masks. We luckily have a big kitchen, and most of the time I'm alone in the kitchen. Only when serving the guests, we have to wear masks. So that's the food part.
And the only thing I'll say about our food, because we do not provide meals since we have kitchens, it's self-preparation, but we do provide the makings for breakfast. We used to make our bread, we used to make some of the things. We don't do that right now. We are buying at the store instead, just so that there's not a food handling issue. And we do have dishwashers. So our guests are the ones doing the cleaning.
All right, well, thank you. I know we have more questions in the chat, but in the interest of time, what I'm not going to do is read those questions out loud. And I know Scottie's been working the chat and answering things. So no obligation, but I'll extend this to our speakers. And also, I know many of you run farm stays yourself. So if you have answers, if you have, more you want to say, even though we're going to need to officially end this session to respect people's time, we'll keep the meeting open and the chat going for a little while if anyone wants to continue the conversation there. And, the main thing we want to get across today is this is, in closing, I'll emphasize, let me go to the last slide here, that our colleagues in, our colleagues in Italy did this amazing service to all of us to begin this agritourism platform, this international agritourism network. And we're excited to help them do the work of moving it forward. We thought that would be at a conference in Vermont, and we will definitely still hold that conference in Vermont. But in the meantime, monthly, with the help of Catherine Malonzo and the team of experts who are working on the International Workshop for Agritourism Planning Committee, we're putting together an excellent series. And actually, one of the topics we're working on is virtual events, virtual farm and food tours. But the few that we have absolutely finalized are listed on our website that you see here, www.agritourismworkshop.com. And you can see that coming up in a little under a month from now, October 8th, we'll be talking about regenerative tourism and agriculture. And then in November, we'll be talking about indigenous and tribal perspectives on agritourism. And there are a whole bunch of other topics that we're working on lining up speakers. So we'll continue to keep the website updated and open registration and send out periodic announcements. And we invite all of you to stay engaged. Feel free to email me at any time. If you have ideas, if you're thinking of a good speaker or you have questions, and feel free to reach out to any of the folks who spoke today or who even joined in today as we all work together to strengthen this network. And with that, I think we can stop the recording and officially close the meeting.